Final Destination. You can't cheat death. If you grew up around the time I did, say the late 90s, early 2000s, you probably remember seeing these films. If your parents were as irresponsible as mine and let you watch horror movies, or at least horror adjacent films. Well, with news of a sixth movie coming out this year, I figured it would be a good idea to make a video ranking all the Final Destination movies. Sometimes you gotta stroke the algorithm here and there. I'm not going to be doing like in order of worst to best or best to worst. I want to discuss these movies and talk about the story, or lack thereof in some instances. So by the end of the video, we'll have a scientifically accurate ranking, although unlike science, my opinions are infallible. Now with that out of the way, Final Destination, the first movie. I look back at this movie particularly fondly. I like it. The opening credits made me immediately feel a strong bout of nostalgia. I'm sure everyone's heard that this movie's original script was meant to be an X-Files episode. It was then turned into a script for a film. Anyway, we follow our lead character, Alex. Whoa, I'm Alex. Is going on a trip with his French class to Paris. Alex is played by Devon Sawa. Before, he was mainly known for being Stan in an Eminem video. A class trip to Paris sounds really cool if it is the year 2000. Nowadays, I'd rather not get stabbed by a homeless Algerian man walking down the street trying to see the Eiffel Tower. No offense to the French, of course. Your culture and history is really cool, at least until you killed the monarchs. It's been really downhill ever since. We start off with his class moving through the airport, getting ready, and we already see some macabre symbolism appearing, things relating to death, and there's this really stupid occurrence throughout the film where they play a John Denver song because John Denver died in an airplane. That song plays like before every death in this movie, which feels very X-Files adjacent. Why did I do that? Everyone watching this has probably seen one of the Final Destination movies, or they at least know the plot of Final Destination as a franchise, so we all know what's going to happen next. The plane takes off, the engine blows up, creating a hole, people get sucked out, and the plane ultimately explodes into a fireball, incinerating everyone inside, including Alex and all of his friends. Then Alex immediately snaps back to reality, and it was just a dream. A very weird dream, a daydream, or perhaps the word that the movies throw around 500 times, a premonition. I have never used that word in real life. He proceeds to relive the things that he just experienced. Say, I don't remember, but like some lady knocks a water bottle over, and then some baby starts crying. As he starts realizing that all these things are coming true that he just saw, and it becomes more than just coincidence, Alex flips out, which causes a giant scene on the plane, getting him and several of his classmates kicked off the plane. There is one girl, her name is Clear. Clear is a very weird name. I kept hearing it as Claire. She decides to get off because she looks at Alex and she's like, this guy might be up to something. I don't know. They never acted like this before. Maybe he knows something I don't know. So she gets off the plane too. The plane crash scene it hasn't aged well. It's not a great watch. They had to add a lot of shaky camera to cover up this bad CGI way back in 2000. But that's my only complaint up to this point. When they get off the plane, everyone's pissed off at Alex, like, dude, you just ruined our trip. Now we have to wait a day. They get to all experience Paris for a day. Well, we're stuck here, man. While they are all bitching at Alex, Stifler, I don't know his name in the movie, but that guy looks out. He's like, man, they're going. This sucks. And then boom, the plane fucking explodes. With the plane now blown to bits, everyone looks over to Alex like, oh, bud, you were right. Then Alex and his friends, or classmates and teacher, are taken into a separate room to be interrogated by some feds.
I'm Agent Ween. This is Agent Shrek. We're with the FBI.
Excuse me? Did I hear that correctly? The feds are very curious as to how Alex knew that this plane was going to explode before it did. You have to keep in mind this is pre-911 though, so it's much more relaxed. There is no bullshit TSA or anything to deal with. While all of them get questioned, we kind of get to meet them. There's 7 of them, I think. 7 survivors. And if you've seen any of these movies, you know what's about to happen to these unfortunate souls. But ultimately, there are only 3 very important characters in this movie. The rest are just characters who are there for overly elaborate, dramatic death scenes. If you like these deaths, or the way death happens inside of Final Destination, you'll like any of the movies. But if you're like me and think that they get very old after the first 2 films, especially when you're watching these movies in quick succession, then you don't. I wouldn't say that all of them are tediously long in the first film, but as they go on, it just gets tired. It starts with his best friend going to his bathroom and shaving his face and trimming his nose hairs, you know? Gotta get a little spiffy. While shaving, the kid ends up slipping into the bathtub. Bunch of crazy stuff happens, and a clothesline that's hanging in his bathtub, which I've never seen anything like before, is sitting there and it wraps around his neck and he gets choked to death by Death. The entity even does something a little bit more dirty by making the shampoo bottle fall down and slick up the bottom of the tub so he can't get his feet steady. So while Todd is dying, Todd is his name, Alex's Penthouse magazine he's viewing, which is weird, his Penthouse viewing session is interrupted by a funny feeling. He runs over to Todd's house just to see ambulances and Todd's parents crying. So this is where the movie brings back the detectives, Agent Shrek and Ween. So it offers a secondary plot, the police investigating Alex, because they think that he's up to no good. Not a good look, Alex. Alex is going to do this a lot. Showing up or being at the scene of someone dying, causing the feds to begin to think he's murdering his friends. It's after Alex sees Todd that the writers decide to bring a cute little love interest in for Alex, and that is Clear. She pulls him over like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Why are you over here? They're gonna think that you did this. She's a strange and troubled girl who both of her parents are dead, so she's an orphan. She also has really weird hobbies of like making weird metal sculptures, but she's also hot, so I guess every teenage boy's dream. This never goes anywhere because they're all gonna die soon, but at the very least it builds rapport in the audience, and as us as the audience don't want Alex or Clear to die. While talking, Alex and Clear discuss Todd and his mysterious death. They come to the conclusion that Todd probably didn't do it to himself. Under the circumstances, it seems rather suspicious. I don't know, he's a movie character. He's probably much like Jeffrey Epstein, though, in that he didn't do it to himself. He didn't seem like he was depressed or would do that to himself, especially in such a graphic and painful way. This suspicion causes them to do a really weird thing. They break into the funeral home where Todd's body is kept to get a peek at his body. It's here we meet a recurring character, Black Mortician guy, Black Death guy, Black guy. I don't think he has a name, but he just exists in these movies to fill the characters in on Death's design. I kind of like the character because he breaks that fourth wall and is a little silly and funny. He has some funny lines, and this movie doesn't really need that, though. It doesn't need to be funny to make up for its lack of story or annoying-ass characters, because it doesn't really suffer from those things. The next day, while out on the town, everyone manages to run into each other. This is where we meet the dickhead jock character again. Every 2000s movie has a dickhead jock character. Can't control his anger because subversion. Alex and the jock fella end up arguing. Then his girlfriend, not Alex's girlfriend, Alex doesn't have a girlfriend, the jock character's girlfriend, walks off all angry. You guys shouldn't be arguing. I want to move on from this. And she gets hit by a bus and immediately splattered all over the street. Everyone looks on like, oh shit. Now Alex is more suspicious about how his friends are dying, so he goes home and charts some stuff together with airplane things. Like, I now know the order in which everyone's going to die, just like that. With the order figured out, he knows his teacher is next. Let's talk about the teacher in the movie. She's the first character in the series of films I couldn't stand. After the plane crash, she acts like a legitimate child and ends up filling the role of like bitchy Karen all throughout. Like when Alex is concerned about her or for her, she sees him outside, which is a little bit weird, but she immediately calls the police and doesn't go like, hey bud, are you okay? I know you just went through something very traumatic like all of us did, and you might be acting weird because of it. No, she just calls the police because she thinks he's there to murder her. I was rooting for her death at this point, needless to say, and it took way too long to happen. And the payoff is kind of So that's my only gripe about this movie, really. It's sort of funny hearing the whiny bitch call the detective and be like, Detective Shrek? That's comedic. And I don't know if the movie Shrek came out before this. 2001. Yeah, it wasn't out yet, so you need hindsight for this one.
Hi, this is Valerie Luton. I need Agent Shrek.
The police come over, find Alex outside the house doing something weird to her tires. He's like checking to see if they're aired up so she doesn't die. It looks like he's gonna pop them or do something weird to her car to kill her, and they arrest him. They take Alex in for questioning. They don't have anything solid to hold him, so they just let him go. During this, it cuts back to the teacher over and over again, and you see Death working its magic. Don't even feel like talking about it in this point, but she slips on some liquid and falls. Her house catches on fire. Alex leaves the detectives and runs back to her house because he's still worried about her. He tries to save her, but it's too late. He arrives and she's in the middle of dying, even incriminates himself by leaving fingerprints on some knives that fell in her chest. While running out, and the house explodes, and he sees Stifler riding a bike, so now there's a witness of it too. All the kids get together after the teacher dies, start discussing how the they're gonna try to survive, because now everyone's a little bit nervous that they're all going to die. It's here the jock guy learns that he's next in line and decides to throw a tantrum, driving them onto some train tracks and just parking the car, locking the doors. What do you know? The train's also coming through. The kids all jump out, leaving the jock guy inside to continue his tantrum. When Alex tries to pull him out, Death does some magic stuff, not letting him get out. Alex ends up ultimately freeing him, and the train smashes the car into pieces. Just when you think that they are all safe because the train's gone, or at least moving past them, a piece of metal from the cars underneath the train connects with the wheel and slices Stifler's head off. Let's spend a minute to talk about the deaths in this film, or films. It seems these movies have a cult fan base who really like to rank or talk about how crazy and brutal and ridiculous the deaths are in these movies. I'm not into this. It's not what I care for. The longer and more elaborate they are, honestly, makes them more boring for me. I think whenever I was younger, I probably got a lot more out of that, found it enjoyable. I need some excitement, man. Knowing that it's gonna happen, the payoff of them dying, like they're gonna die. I don't get it. This movie does well with faking out and killing characters suddenly, that every movie is going to try to do from now on, and it will never work again. Like with the jock kid's girlfriend or Stifler's death. It feels like it kind of comes out of nowhere. So the jock kid was saved and it skipped him in line, and Stifler died, so it's now Alex's turn. But oh wait, it's actually not his turn. He spent all this time in the movie prepping a place to survive, like in Clear's dad's old cabin, just to find out it's Clear's turn. I don't know how, I don't remember. And it isn't enough for Alex to run through the woods to save her, as if you couldn't get enough tension out of that. They had to add the police chasing after Alex to arrest him. The whole time Clear is scaling up the sides of her house, trying to escape this electric line and this gigantic storm, zapping and flying around like Thor himself is controlling it. In the end, Alex is able to make it to Clear just before she dies, because it looks like her car is going to explode or her car will get electrocuted. Alex grabs the electrical wire, and you're like, no. And then the car explodes, sending Alex flying. You're like, he's definitely dead. It skips time. You assume that he risked his life to save her. What an honorable gesture. The movie then cuts 6 months into the future, where our three characters, the jock, Clear, and Alex, are taking a remembrance trip to Paris to celebrate how they all survived death. It turns out that when Alex grabbed the electric wire, when the car exploded, it sent him off of it, so he didn't die. And just when you think that there's going to be a happy ending, a sign crashes into the jock guy and murders him. So Alex and Clear lived, leaving room for countless sequels to follow. Final Destination is an interesting movie. It really worked during its time period. I think it's probably the best written Final Destination film. It has the best acting of any of the Final Destination movies, and the characters are a lot better than any Final Destination movie. You could say that the jock guy's girlfriend isn't much of a character. You could say that Stifler isn't much of a character. But I think overall, the jock fella, Clear, and Alex more than make up for it. And the teacher, she's focused on quite a bit. I can't stand her. But the interactions between the characters, the dialogue in the film, and the added police, ultimately there for this silly chase, gives the movie much more tension and character.
Hi, this is Valerie Luton. I need Agent Shrek.
The sudden jump in time of 6 months when they're in Paris is a little cheesy, but it ending on them dying anyway is a pretty cool note. That whole you can't cheat death. Final Destination 1, when going back to watch it, I thought that these movies would all be pretty good because of this. I genuinely enjoyed it. If I had to rank the movie, partially due to nostalgia, I think I'd give it like a 6.5 or 7. I genuinely enjoyed this movie. I barely remembered it, so watching them all try to survive was thrilling. I didn't know what order they died. I didn't really remember in what way that they died. I haven't seen this movie in so long. It was nice. Good movie. I think as far as the rankings go, this movie is going to have to be the best Final Destination film. None of them lived up to it. Due to me watching them in order, I'm probably going to hold a bit of resentment towards the later films, as the same old story starts to get very redundant and annoying to me. I'm not able to take 3-year breaks between watching these movies like on release. I have to make a video before Final Destination Bloodlines, Final Destination 6 comes out. So as it stands, Final Destination, first post, best post. If you guys are enjoying the video so far and my opinions about Final Destination aren't too hot to handle, drop me a like and subscribe to the channel. Also comment down below saying, good job, man, or something along those lines. Back to the video. This leads us to Final Destination 2. This movie opens with some news reports talking about the events of the first movie. Every film following this is going to link all of the movies and all of the happenings together, but this movie does it better. It felt like Final Destination 2 was meant to be the last Final Destination, and it would have been better if this was the last Final Destination. You'll figure out why when get to the other ones. This movie's main character is a girl called Kimberly, kind of cute girl. Kimberly and her friends are preparing for a road trip of sorts, and the conversation between her and her friend and her while her father is there is very out of place.
Exaflat, road flares, sunblock, mace.
Condoms, whips, chains. Just kidding, Mr. Corman.
I think I'd banish my daughter to a tower, force her to grow her hair out to make a ladder, before I'd ever let her leave the house again after I heard that. The dad just kind of laughs it off. Then again, she's an adult because there's a romantic kind of Clear and Alex situation where there's tension between her and another character throughout this movie who's most definitely an adult. I guess I just have to kill her for putting that in my mind, like Abraham. Anyway, they take off, and there's two more insufferable characters in the backseat of her car, the whole stoner stereotypes. Don't worry, all these friends die before anything starts. As they all make it onto the highway, we start getting these signs. You know, you see 180 referencing Flight 180 and music referencing the first movie, trucks having death-related quotes on them. This time, instead of a bunch of students on a plane together going to Paris, it's people in different vehicles from different walks of life, all of them ultimately going to die because a log truck creates a pileup, an explosive, massive pileup. It's actually this opening sequence that has a lot of people irrationally afraid of trucks moving logs. So next time you're driving down the highway and you see a truck like that, make sure to get into a different lane, you bitch. It's a wild pileup. There's cars flipping and fizzling out with massive fiery explosions. Is that fizzling out? I guess they fizzle out after the fiery explosions. It's well done. I think this opening's good. It's fun. They all die in the end. And Kimberly, like Alex, awakens from this premonition and slowly puts everything together that they're all about to die. She does the Final Destination freak out. We're all gonna die. Oh, shush. We're gonna be okay. What's wrong? Nothing's going wrong. We're fine. We're gonna make it out of town in no time. Ah! And she turns the car around and blocks off traffic on a on-ramp. All of our eventual characters stuck behind her in traffic. Everyone is angry and confused, but luckily enough, there's a police officer behind her. A state trooper or whatever he is. I don't know. He gets out of his car, trying to figure out exactly what's going on with this crazy woman blocking traffic. She tries to explain what's going to happen, frantically saying, we're all gonna die. Everyone gets ready to drive past them. Everyone crashes, which happens like right in front of them, which doesn't make any sense, because they made it quite a ways up the highway. Funnily enough, the truck that hit them and killed them in the premonition comes and hits her truck and kills all of her friends, leaving her alive, and all these random characters. Thankfully, too, because they were kind of annoying. There are a lot of characters in this movie, so I will not even be trying to name them. In most of these movies, I will just be calling them by their stereotype. If it's a goth chick, she's getting called weird girl. A goth dude, he's getting called freaky dude. If it's a black guy, it's black guy. If it's a black guy who's smooth like jazz, it's the smooth black guy. If it's a cop, he's a cop. Anyway, after the massive pile up, the police bring them in for questioning. While at the police station, one of the characters who was in a muscle car throughout, he just won the lottery, and the police officer's like, wow, buddy, you really are the luckiest guy alive. You just won the lottery, and now you live because of her. He goes home to this really trashy apartment with a bunch of fancy electronics, fancy considering the time period. There are a few funny moments where he checks his answering machine, and a bunch of girls who never gave him any time are leaving messages on his answering machine.
Hi, Evan, it's Nikki. We met at Tupper's party last year. I know it's been a while, but I've been thinking about you. Just wanted to say congratulations, so give me a call.
Everything that could be wrong or dangerous in his apartment or kitchen goes wrong and is dangerous. His apartment catches on fire. He escapes via the fire escape, but not so fast. He threw some spaghetti out earlier when he was about to cook, and he slips on it when he gets down, and then the ladder comes crashing into his head and kills him. With this death paving the way for every death from here on out to be a bad recreation of the teacher from the last film's death, just overly drawn out, long, and there's no big payoff for any of it. Everyone also just happens to be watching the news at the exact same time after this, and they notice that he just died. We learn what happened to our characters from Flight 180 during this, where we see that Alex died from a brick falling on his head. But it turns out Clear is alive and well, but she trapped herself in some mental asylum institution in a padded room as to keep death at bay. The main girl goes and meets Clear, asking for some help, some direction on how to escape death like Clear did. It's just a lazy way to have our characters learn about how they can stop death by saving each other. I guess you never gave her a real death and you didn't want to make two of the characters die by a random brick hitting them off screen that we never get to see. It's kind of necessary to bring Clear back if you're going to make a new movie. Clear is like, I'm not helping you though, so she just goes back home. When she makes it home, she ends up seeing the detective fella, the cop fella, the police officer fellow. He tells her that he got in touch with all the survivors and they're going to meet up at his place to discuss what's going on. He thinks it's related to Flight 180 and they're all going to die. But before they can go all meet up at his house, it's time for someone to die. There's a mother and a son. They go off to the boy's dentist appointment. Very long. You think that he's going to die in the dentist's office. The boy's given some nitrous, so he's practically unconscious. A little thing from the ceiling drops into his mouth, and you're like, oh no, he's gonna die. But the dental assistant comes in, not wanting a malpractice lawsuit to happen. Takes it out of his mouth like, whew. So you think that they're going to live, but when they go outside, a giant object falls on his head and smashes him. Nothing this movie does is bad. It just doesn't do anything great, and it definitely doesn't do much that's good. It's just kind of there. It exists for the most part. After that, Clear shows up and she decides she's going to help the deputy and Kimberly and all the people. She takes them to the spooky black guy. Spooky black guy does the same crap he did in the last movie. You can't cheat death. There's a new rule introduced here that we have to talk about though. And I looked this rule up, and it was going to possibly be the ending of Final Destination. There was going to be an ending of Final Destination where Alex knocks up Clear and they have a baby and they're saved, which would have been a cool ending. I'd do the same. With my intuition, I would have lived. So this new rule is that if new life is created, i.e. a baby is born, if I didn't explain that already, I'm dumb. Death skips that, so they're all safe. Well, it just so happens that there's a mom that was pregnant at the scene of the crash. I don't exactly know how this works, though. The mom about to have the baby makes sense. Like, you're 9 months pregnant, you're about to give birth, you're about to burst. If you have that baby, you could skip it. But we're about to get into some politicking here. So, if me and Kimberly were to hang out, which would be cool, maybe not so much now that she's like 60, and I were to we were to get married first, and then I were to get her pregnant. After marriage, of course. Then life begins at conception or at birth. In my opinion, it's somewhere along the lines of conception. Or does death have this like gay moralist idea, trying to discuss? Is it 11 weeks? Is it 10 weeks? What is it? When does the baby form? When does it look like a human? When can it breathe? When does it have a heart? None of that really matters. But does death think that way? Because it would either be at conception or at birth. Those are the only two options you got. Because in the middle, it's all the same thing. Or would you have to survive for like an extended period until the baby comes out? 9 months would take a very long time while death's trying to kill you every 10 seconds, bouncing between you. I don't know how it works. Doesn't make any sense, really. Needless to say, my base instincts are always right. They go to this really dangerous gas station. Scene just is used, so Kimberly gets a premonition of a car driving off into some water. They rush to the deputy's house and try to come up with a plan on how to get the pregnant lady. While they're at the house, things start going from wrong to really wrong. The black fella in the movie acts like a clown when he's told that they're all going to die, and he's like, hey, brother, man, I ain't dead yet, so am I really gonna die?
Okay, look, I gotta call bullshit. I mean, I've sat here and listened to all your theories and all your stories, and I think it's just all bullshit.
It'll keep your ass alive.
Darling, my ass is alive, huh?
He leaves, and so does the mom from the boy earlier. She's like, I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette. Probably gonna die so she can be with her son, kind of thing. And she gets stuck in the elevator. Her head gets pulled off by the elevator and dies. Kind of funny. There's a moment where like this guy's holding a thing of prosthetic hands behind the black guy and the mom, like smelling them. The black guy freaks out when he watches this woman's head get pulled off by the elevator, and he goes back into the house or the apartment, grabs the police officer's gun and tries to shoot, but the gun doesn't go off. So death only works in its design. But he's gonna die anyway, but like he has to die when death wants him to die. really dumb. The detective then puts out something so they can find the pregnant woman, I don't know what you'd call it, looking for her car. We get a little bit of lore here where people realize that they survived due to Flight 80 in some convoluted ways. So Death's coming back to get them because they're related to Flight 180. I was talking about a few minutes ago. So Death has rippled out to them and it has to claim them too. While trying to track down the pregnant lady, they get into an accident. This one isn't like premonitioned. They just happened to get into an accident with the pregnant lady. So she was actually arrested, but then she went into birth and the cop took her and they drove off. The pregnant lady and the cop escorting her just drive off after they hit their car so they can go to the hospital. A few people in the car are injured, the group. One of the girls just being trapped inside the van. They relax for a bit, and the crackhead guy saves a random kid from dying, which matters in the end of the movie. The girl in the van ends up getting killed by some PVC pipe smashing in her head because of the airbag or something. And she drops her cigarette, which creates an explosion that launches a fence through the crackhead guy. That's like 2 or 3 people down. The black guy has to be taken to the hospital because he's messed up, and Kimberly and the deputy have to go to the hospital so that they can try to save the pregnant woman. When they head to the hospital, Kimberly gets another premonition, this time showing a nurse killing someone, so they immediately assume that she's killing, or at least looks like she's killing, the pregnant lady, right? Or doctor, not a nurse. If you're wondering why it sounds like I'm flying through this movie's just kind of quick. It feels like it's quick. I know it's not shorter than the other movies, probably. It just comes and goes pretty fast, so, which is good. That's a good thing about this film. What's made confusing is when you realize that this movie was directed by the same guy that made the 4th movie, The Final Destination, which is, let's get to it later. Anyway, at the hospital, the black fella has his breathing machine get unplugged, and the lady's having her baby in the other room. When she has the baby, his breathing machine randomly comes back on, so it looks like the baby saved them. Issue is, Kimberly thinks back and realizes now, suddenly, that the pregnant lady wasn't involved in the crash at all. So this was all for naught. Clear then instantly dies from a giant explosion when she opens the fella's door, and there's oxygen buildup that blows her up. Kimberly gets a big idea and remembers her premonition from earlier, and steals an ambulance outside and drives it into a lake. Now, this hospital is called Lakeview. Thankfully, that lake's there. She drowns while the deputy tries to save her, but is ultimately resuscitated. And now she and the cop survive. One happy, sunny, sunshine shot later, they go have dinner with the family that owned the farm that they had the crash on and a lot of them died at. We see them outside being happy when the kid goes and checks on the grill and blows up and dies. So he was next because they saved him. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know if it's insinuating that Kimberly and the cop will die or if they get to live now. Nothing ever comes from this, I don't think. I don't remember any newspapers or news things talking about them dying later in any of the other movies. So we can just assume that Kimberly and Cop Dude live. They're the only, like, real survivors of these movies since Claire died. The ending's just as silly as the rest of the movie, and I kind of like it. This one's got to go into that second spot. While the acting and script are a step back, this cheesy attitude and fast pace make up for it. Final Destination 2 is a decent movie. I'd give it like a 5.5 or 6. It's just fun. I'd watch it again. That, however, does lead us to the next movie in the franchise, Final Destination 3. It's very weird. Probably the most aged movie in the franchise that isn't 3D, unlike the other two, who seemingly hold up. I don't necessarily like anything about this movie. Maybe there's a couple things. I don't know. Let's talk about it. To start, this movie has the most annoying opening scene. It's not even close. This leads into a group of teenagers who could also be ambiguously young adulty. I think they're in high school, but they could be in college. They're at an amusement park. Now, if you know anything about Final Destination franchise, the first things you think about are like premonitions, preventing death, but also the way people die. Final Destination 3 is one of the most famous opening sequences, and it involves a roller coaster. I don't know what's more popular and more well-known, the log truck or the roller coaster? Probably the log truck. You have the build-up of like, oh, will they date, won't they date, or are they going to kiss kind of thing between these main characters too, which the last two movies opt out of by making the main characters a girlfriend and boyfriend. The only other character I remember is this creepy guy who follows around these girls, so I think they must be in high school, because he's not in high school, and he flirts with them. The build-up to the premonition playing out is very slow of them at the amusement park, so that our main character can take pictures of stuff, which leads to them knowing the order that they're going to die or how they're going to die. The premonition of the roller coaster when they're on it and they all die is the hardest thing in these movies to watch, other than the next movie, which is in 3D. There's like 50,000 jump cuts to throw on top of terrible CGI. When our character awakens from this premonition and freaks out, like every other movie, only a few characters get off, but not all of them. When they exit the ride, we see the roller coaster crash and kill everyone, which happens way too fast, just like the crash on the road. And then it cuts to them having a reunion at their high school, which is very reminiscent of the first movie. Here we learn our main character, Wendy is her name. Her boyfriend died, as she argues with her other main character, Kevin, whose girlfriend died. Kevin's like, oh, your boyfriend told me to watch out for you and keep you safe or whatever. She's like, yeah, but only on the roller coaster, not now. Fuck off, Kevin. So they split up. But this leaves like ample room for them to trauma bond. Well, not really, because Wendy just doesn't seem that interested mostly. We then see some slutty girls, which is what they're meant to be. They have like whale tails, whatever they call that when you wear your like underwear showing. The slutty chicks that I can't say that. The creepy guy was flirting with, they go tanning. It's kind of funny in every 2000s movie. You have like these blonde bimbo characters. Talk about subversion again. The two girls at the tanning salon have this long lead up to them being cooked alive by their tanning beds. You can immediately tell these movies have lost their quality at this point when the two girls are topless in this scene. I mean, I'm sure you can naked or something so that you don't have tan lines. All the tan lines are cool. But nothing screams low budget horror quite like topless girls in a movie. I don't know how tanning works, as you could see by my complexion. Pale skin's just more attractive than tanning in general to me. I need like that aristocratic, like 1400s girlfriend who hasn't seen the sun. When she goes outside, she has an umbrella. That's my speed. I want to see your blood veins through your skin. That's what I like. The tanning bed scene is probably one of the longer deaths in the movie. It's fine, but it's made longer by them cutting back to the main character as she's at her desk, just looking through which her lamp keeps flashing spooky, people are dying. It's a pretty gruesome scene. I was a little bit burnt out while watching this movie. He honestly should have taken a break between these movies, so I wasn't super biased during the review. Just from overexposure, just so tired of Final Destination. So the girls die, get cooked alive, it's really gross. Boring funeral later, only made entertaining by like talks of 911, which it feels weird to be brought up. This movie was made in Canada, so maybe they were like, it's probably been long enough to talk about it now.
Photographic plate was broken, causing a line that can't be removed. Exactly where he was shot. See the shadow?
Well, what do these pictures have to do with us?
This occurred 1 year to the day of the Flight 180 disaster. Look at the road sign.
Look, I guess...
The girl shows her pictures of the amusement park to Kevin in this car ride, explaining how she thinks that they're all going to end up dying now, and she thinks she knows the order or how they're going to die. So Kevin's like, oh, that's interesting. Then he brings up SpongeBob.
Oh, what, like he's gonna get crushed by a giant SpongeBob? Hey, SpongeBob lives underwater.
It's so sad that you know that.
Maybe it's the time period, but isn't it safe to assume that it's not weird for Kevin to know about SpongeBob, or he'd be young enough to watch it, or he'd have siblings that are young enough to have seen it? Maybe it's the time period, but anyway, while bickering with each other, looking at the pictures in the drive-thru, we get the worst death scene in the movie, and quite frankly, one of the worst death scenes in all of the movies, other than when something just falls and kills somebody, which happens again in this film, where a truck comes careening down a hill. They barely escape their car, but it hits this car in front of them and kills the guy, which I think is meant to be the creepy guy who was hitting on the high school girls. I think he had the same hat and necklace, but it never shows his face during this. I don't remember them talking about trying to save him, so I'm pretty sure he dies because I don't think he shows up later again in the movie. This just feels weird. This is like, maybe it's the editing of the film. I don't know. This was weird. Realizing death is coming after them all now, she checks the pictures and realizes the next one is this jockey guy, this football player dude that they were with. They go to the gym, but he's too busy and is too full of himself. Be like, nothing could fucking kill me, bro. To listen, he gets his head chopped off by some fake swords up on this thing. And they're like, told you so, bro. It's a very frustrating scene. I love how these movies just make characters annoying. Death begins to come across as more like foreplay before the main event, where you're waiting patiently for the people to gruesomely die because you don't like their characters, as if that's some sort of decent reward for your patience. I don't know. Spoiler alert, I don't like it. This movie sucks. A lot of these movies, oh man, I never want to see another Final Destination movie again. I'm already saying, we're on Final Destination 3. We got 2 more films to go. I never want to see a Final Destination movie again. I hate this franchise. I'm so sick of it. With the Blackjack guy dead, somebody brings up Osama bin Laden again, which is weird. I think it's the two alternative weird characters, the goth girl, goth guy. They're the next people on death's shit list. One of them being my least favorite character in the movie. And quite frankly, I know I said I was talking about the teacher. This guy is my least favorite character in all of the movies. Maybe in any movie ever made. So let's skip past all the bullshit. They're at this job that they have, which is like at Home Depot or Lowe's, and really slowly builds up till the goth chick dies from a nail gun shooting into her head like 15 times. I've shot nail, like, that's not gonna go through somebody. You could shoot it at something and it's barely gonna stick in. People that make movies probably have never done any manual labor in their life, though. 90% of this movie is just slowly building up death setting up this like elaborate chain to kill people that's interspersed with trash dialogue that seems to be written by like an autistic child. Wendy and Kevin leave and they got stuff to do even though they're like next in line. When Wendy goes home and Kevin goes off to some bicentennial or thing like celebrating 100 years of their town, Kevin has to go work it because his dad wants him to. So Wendy goes home, and while at home she realizes her sister, a background character who she just bitches at while sitting at her desk, is actually the next one to go. So she runs away and has to go find her sister at the bicentennial thing. Now everyone's there. She calls Kevin. Kevin tries to track down her sister. The whole celebration's like 20 minutes of setup and it's a snooze fest. They save the sister, but then the dork guy shows up, the dork goth kid. And he's all like, I'm gonna kill you guys, cause like, my girlfriend died, even though that wasn't your guys' fault. And we were joking around about how it wasn't gonna happen. And honestly, it's kind of my fault. I hate him, and he just ends up getting crushed. It sucks that the character I hate most dies in such another lame way. They could have gave him like a cool tanning bed death scene. So after he dies, the movie suddenly skips time like the first film. It's like 5 months later, and Wendy and all the other survivors, so her sister and Kevin, are all in the same subway car for some reason, even though they've moved to a different place for college or whatever they're all doing. She gets another premonition while on this subway that the subway's gonna crash and kill them all, but it's too late because when the premonition ends, there's no way she could stop it. You can't just fucking stop the subway or jump off. So they all die on there because of rats or something, which, I mean, billions of rats in New York City. This doesn't happen every day. It's the worst ending in the series, but the plot of this movie stinks. The characters all suck ass. Nobody's enjoyable. It feels like the movie's more of like a compilation of deaths that you'd find on like old shock site, but most of them suck. A couple of them, I guess, are kind of cool. The opening's probably one of the best parts, and I didn't really like it that much. The tanning bed's cool. I'd give this movie like a 2 out of 10. Maybe a 3. You might talk me into giving it a 3 out of a 10, but it's a bad film. It's not the worst, and it's not so awful that it's gonna haunt me. I'd rather have like more interesting characters and more interesting things going on other than these really long, elaborate death scenes. This movie is really iconic for Final Destination, and the twist ending does add something, but it's pretty bad. Final Destination 3, I'm going to put it down in, like, 4th. This is the 4th best. It's the 2nd worst Final Destination movie. So let's move on to the worst Final Destination movie. The Final Destination, which that title. We're calling it Final Destination 4, because this movie never deserved the right of being the last Final Destination movie, because it sucks. It's the stinkiest piece of shit that's ever been made. So let's get into it. 2009, The Final Destination. Said it, even though I said I wouldn't say it. I don't have anything good to say about this movie. Like, not one thing. The movie stole my joy from making this video. I'd say that this movie alone probably delayed my creation of this video by a week, if not more. I originally thought about making the Final Destination movies as to stop being so negative about films. So I wanted to do something that was a little bit more positive, a little bit more silly, just ranking some movies that I wanted to cover since there was a new one coming out. I just wanted a happy, fun video. I see why they called it The Final Destination though, because after the studio saw this bullshit, they probably wanted to pull the plug. More than likely, they were going to let the franchise die, like the director. How did this guy go from Final Destination 2 to this thing? I looked him up because I had to see who made this stinker, and found out he died a few years after directing this. His cause of death is unknown, which makes me wonder if someone took him out for making it. Not good to talk ill about the dead, but man. As to not disrespect the dead any further, I'm sorry for your family. This took years off of my life, though. Final Destination 4, stinky, stinky, poo-poo, butt. Movie starts off with loud race cars and butt rock. Baby! Hell yeah, brother. Our characters consist of a few friends and other random people like the second movie. Our main character, Nick, starts getting some bad feelings at this speedway they're at. Then tragedy strikes as a car crashes and people's heads get cut off and things collapse. All while this dog 3D CGI is killing them. It looks so bad, words cannot describe. It would take Shakespeare to describe how shit this movie looks. It's so distractingly bad and is used for every death, as far as I can recall. I remember watching this movie back in 2009 or 2010, and I didn't even remember it was 3D. I didn't even hate this movie. I probably liked it. I was a kid. I'd have been like 6th or 5th grade or something. I don't know how I wouldn't remember the 3D aspect, though. It's one of the worst things ever made. If this ever makes a comeback, we need to use it to our advantage, though. We have to keep track of all the people that go to these movies, though, so we can put them all in train cars and send them off to be euthanized. Back to our $60 million Final Destination movie that couldn't even afford practical effects for car explosion. Gas bomb inside would look 100 times better than what we got. The premonition ends, and oh my, no one is dead yet. Our main character does the freak out, and people get away. While outside, the accident happens inside, and everyone's like, whoa, how'd you know that, bro? When they were all just fighting minutes ago. Then the only death in the movie that got a reaction out of me happens. I mean, I got a little snicker out of it. It was funny. A lady gets hit by a tire and like cut in half by it or something outside. A character who would have been otherwise useless with a 10-minute long death scene saved 10 minutes from my life, although it took several minutes for me to write this, so it very well may be an overall loss. Who knows? You can't cheat death. You can't cheat death. You can't cheat death. You can't cheat death. All the actors go their own way, and the movie focuses on this racist fellow who's angry about his wife or girlfriend dying. He blames the security guard for pulling him out, not letting his wife leave, or something along those lines. The security guard just so happens to be a black man. The only problem I have with this racist character is he's probably the best actor in the entire movie. He's the only one who doesn't feel like he's talking to the camera. He's obviously meant to be disliked so that you'll be happy when he dies because, oh, this guy's racist. He dies trying to burn a cross in this fella's yard. By the way, who does that? Made in 2009, it must have been a lot different than I remember, but I don't think the character's racism is really thought out for his actions. He's more so like a stereotype of a racist character that would fit like better in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, that Coen Brothers film. It's not good when a modern character feels like he comes from the 1920s. He gets dragged off by some chain on his truck while caught on fire and burns to death or something. Moving on, the premonitions throughout this movie that are given to our main character are awful. It looks like one of the people who worked on this movie had their middle school child make these in Blender or After Effects. I don't know anything about animation. It looks like a middle schooler animated it. We made it to the only part of the movie that I really like, though, and that's when we go back to our main character and his girlfriend, and his cute little ginger girlfriend is in these green underwear. It isn't even that exciting. It's just a girl in underwear. The next part of the movie is a very drawn out death of the mom at a salon getting her hair cut. Everything looks like it's going to kill her. Nothing ends up actually killing her inside of there. It's when she walks out, this guy that was mowing the lawn, his lawnmower shoots a rock into her eye and kills her. Fucking stupid, sucks, don't like it. This causes all the characters to get together at the main character's house, and he's like, oh bro, we're all gonna die, and his friends don't listen. It's just an exposition dump, much like the second movie. Some of the characters are just like, whatever bro, you're crazy. The girlfriend and the boyfriend head back to the speedway to talk to a security guard who shows them some footage so they can figure out the order of in which they're gonna die, so it can refresh his memory of some sort. They figure out that this mechanic fella is the next one to die. They go and talk to him. He ignores them and then dies, like the jock from the last movie. His death manages to be worse than the mother's somehow. Let me explain. He gets cut into like a million pieces by a fence because something hits him. A chain link fence isn't going to cut through bones. At least I don't think so, man. Maybe we need to prove this. This just feels stupid. Fake and gay. You don't get mad when I use that word. The next on the chopping block is the fuckboy. His asshole gets sucked out by a pool drain. Kind of cool. A decent death, I guess, for this movie at least. They then save the least important character in cinema history. In cinema history, it's a girl. She's like one of their friends. She almost drowns in a car wash, which is a little silly. If you were wondering how stupid they could get, that's an actual thing. The security guard's life is saved at some point. He tries to end it, and death won't let him go, just like the black guy from the second movie. So all the black guys in these movies just want to give up. No. The jock guy in the first movie tried to do that. Just take me. Death was gonna take him, though, which is weird. They save the girl. The main character's girlfriend and that random girl are gonna go see a movie at the movie theater that's in 3D. nonetheless. We gotta go see this, guys. We gotta put those stupid glasses on that ruin the movie experience. Yeah. So while that's happening, Nick or Sam, I don't remember, Sam might be the guy from the next movie. He goes with the black fella to the hospital to try to save another guy that's somehow involved. That guy dies though, so they leave. They're like, well, whatever. We gotta go make sure the girls are okay or something. Nick gets a premonition during this, or after, but the black guy just gets hit by a ambulance and blown to pieces. Very reminiscent of the bus in the first film, but much more expected. Don't feel bad for him either. It was revealed earlier that he murdered his entire family while drunk driving. The main dude heads off to the skyscraper because he got a premonition that his girlfriend was going to die in a big explosion at the theater. Skyscraper mall kind of thing. This scene takes ages. After like a million eye rolls, he tells the girls to leave, and the annoying bitch, pointless character is like, I've made it this far, I'm not going anywhere. That stuff explodes and she dies and everyone in the audience dies, and then the skyscraper starts falling apart due to the explosion. And this leads to the worst scene in Final Destination history, which I've said a few times, but this one's really bad because of let's talk about it. The main character's girlfriend gets like stuck on this escalator, and like it's breaking, so like the mechanics are open, so she can like fall into the chains and get killed or whatever, right? And she gets sucked into it. The only problem is it's very obviously an empty pair of fucking jeans. They just threw a pair of jeans in there. With all the 3D bullshit and terrible CGI, you'd think they'd CGI a character in there, or some legs, or at least throw a mannequin's legs with some fake blood inside of it. Make it crunch and spew blood everywhere. That was just all a premonition too. None of them actually died there. So the main character heads up to the top of the skyscraper and stops the fire from happening barely. There's a nail gun that shoots at him and gets him stuck like he's crucified. Like, this premonition really pissed me off. This being a false ending made me mad more than anything like the past month, which shows how easy life is. I'm done discussing nail guns. I'm done discussing the Final Destination. I'm done. Final Destination 4 is butt. They survive, they head to a coffee shop and die by a truck running into it anyway. It all sucks, it's stupid, it sucks and it's stupid. End scene, end film, the movie's butt. 0 out of 10. This is the worst movie in the world. Anyhow, it's rare to see a movie this bad. When I made the video on the Conjuring series quite a while ago, I couldn't stand the Nun movies. Like, they just ruined my day watching them. I think I gave both those movies like 1 out of 10. I'd rather watch those movies like 5 times in a row. Both of them. Like 3 hours of Nun. Than watch this movie again. I now know what suffering really means. Any other times I've been through adversity, heartbreak, or death in the family doesn't even slightly compare to how bad this movie made me feel. All of them dying turned out to be a premonition in the mall. The killing fields of Cambodia have nothing on the experience of me watching this godforsaken movie. Throw the Holodomor in and the Holocaust on top and you might equal my experience. With that disaster out of the way, it's on to the final Destination movie. The final Destination movie. Until, well, whenever this video's released, there'll be Final Destination Bloodlines. It's a shame, too, because Final Destination 5 would have been a pretty decent way to end the franchise. Before I made this video, I'd never seen this movie and didn't know it existed. I assumed that it would be like a low-budget shit-can movie made to rake in the last remaining dollars the franchise had, but this one actually ends really nicely and kind of wraps up the series. The first thing I noticed with Final Destination 5 gave me a bit of relief, and that is the characters are actually talking to each other and not the audience or the camera. Don't get me wrong, the acting is not anything special in this film, but holy did Final Destination 4 drop the bar all the way down into Mariana's Trench. By the way, don't even get me started on all the motherfuckers are like, you know, we've actually explored more of space than the ocean. Dude, there's nothing down there. It's just stupid looking fish and sand. Oh, actually there's more explored. Like, they heard that in grade school and they keep pushing that bullshit to sound smart. Kindly explore the ocean yourself, dickhead. Let's hope the pressure takes them out. That may be what happened to the director of the last movie. Only God knows. Off we go. This movie follows a bunch of responsible adults who work in an unnamed corporation. It seems less dreadful than your average, like, bright LED lights and cubicle, though. We meet everyone outside as they prepare for the adult equivalent of a field trip. Remember, office workers are practically cattle, too. Let me explain the characters really quick. Get you introduced to our lovely group. We have the main character who is kind of almost maybe attractive. His name's Sam. He looks like the kid from Never Back Down, the mole, but not as cute, you know? His not-so-hot girlfriend who, like, they're kind of broke up. The kind of attractive pseudo boss who's fucking his college intern. Very good. We got black guy, slutty girl, and David Kushner, I think is his name, is randomly in this movie. He's like the main head boss. Then this like really annoying character who they actually got away with making like a Jewish Jared Fogle lookalike. Top tier. He's the most annoying AIDS like creep that you could imagine. After a short ride on this bus, they get to a bridge which is being repaired. It looks a little spooky. Like number 180 and a log truck appear. There's other signs. Then the bridge collapses and everyone dies. But not so fast there, bucko. It was just a premonition that our boy Samuel got. He does the routine. Ah! And everyone gets off the bus as the bridge starts collapsing. The day is saved. But not so fast. Again, it's slogan time. Say it with me, guys. You can't cheat death. You can't cheat death. The bridge collapsing scene in this movie isn't bad. Serviceable, CGI, doesn't have 3D, so maybe I just really liked it because it didn't have 3D. Another thing to point out is the main character dies in his premonition and his girlfriend doesn't, so that'll play a role later on. The movie then cuts to our group being questioned by authorities again about the bridge collapse. How did you guys know that bridge was going to collapse? Is this one of those terrorisms? One of the cops comes up to the other, he's like, sir, it was actually high winds. Nobody did anything. But don't worry there, sweetheart. Our detective here, still suspicious. He still has to be a slobbering cocksucker the whole movie and sit there and constantly question these people who are obviously going through bereavement, like Shrek and Ween. Also, this makes less sense because collapsing a bridge seems a lot harder than blowing up a plane in 1999. Then again, it took several government agencies to get several fellas on a plane with butter knives. Joking, of course. The government probably didn't have anything to do with 911. There's like a 25% chance they didn't anyway. There were several groups who had a whole lot to gain from it, though. The Patriot Act and such also. We honestly needed all those U.S. Marines defending poppy fields for random farmers in Afghanistan, just before the opioid crisis ravished Americans, and not a single pharmaceutical company was charged or held accountable for more than like $100 million. I don't know, they probably didn't have anything to do with it. I certainly can't recall another set of wars involving opium happening in history. That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Why would you fight over that? Moving on, before there are 5 different Wikipedia pages listed underneath my video, the lucky group heads off to the funeral for everyone who wasn't important enough to stay alive, you know? It almost reminds me of all those people who didn't show up to work on that fateful September day. Or that insurance policy that was set up by the... That's weird, too. I'm not even a truther. What is this? Shut up! We have a movie to talk about, and don't get me started on what happened on June 8th, 1967. I'd go crazy. It's here that the intern girl goes to like a gymnastics meet and gets her head snapped in front of the pseudo boss guy who's fucking her. 1 down, 4 to go. The black fella from the first 2 movies shows up throughout this film. Like, you can't cheat death, blah, blah, blah. Really boring. Morning, the intern girl, they all go to work and start drinking at the office, which is crazy as this Mad Men. But during that, Jared Fogle heads off to get a massage, and he goes to a place thinking that they give out happy endings. They don't, and instead he dies with a statuette crashing into his head, which is fine. It worked out. It's a good way to have a character die. You don't like him, and he dies to a Buddha statuette. A Buddha statuette. David Kushner also calls the detectives because he's worried about the pseudo-boss guy. He's like, hey, this guy's weird. You know, he has to be that boomer snitch, because one of them's always suspicious about something. They all leave and see Jared died, and the spooky black guy is there. He says something along the lines like, hey man, you can't cheat it. Breaks out in song and dance or something. The slutty chick goes to get LASIK eye surgery, and the laser goes crazy and messes her face and eyeball up. She's ultimately saved until she falls out of a window and dies by crashing onto a car. I don't like things involving eyeballs, so this was not fun to watch, but it was effective. Mr. Mosby, the detective, shows up again, questioning them for no reason at all again, and he's like, actually, I know you guys didn't do it, but this is weird. What's going on here? No shit, Sherlock. It is weird. Sometime later, we skip. Sam figures out what Death's doing and how it's affecting them and in what order. Same shit, different movie. Turns out the black guy who works in the warehouse, who was on the trip with them, he's been shown like arguing with this other character all throughout the movie, because the other character's like, I've worked in this factory for 47 years, but you have no clue what I've been through, and then you waltz in with that fancy degree and tell us all what to do. That kind of thing. The black guy almost dies, but then this hook kills the that guy is dead. So the black guy took a life, so now he's okay. Have I talked about in any of these movies how you can actually take someone's life and not die? Or is that brought up in this movie? I think that might just be brought up in this movie. That's a new rule, though. Kushner, David, whatever, John, blah, 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 a guy with bald head dies suddenly. I feel like they could have given the biggest actor in this movie a more honorable, like, big death, but they didn't. So that's weird. The movie takes a turn down stupid street after this, like most movies I talk about on the channel. When Sam goes to his other job, he has another job throughout the movie where he's like a chef. He's training to be a chef, and he has his girlfriend come. They're gonna break up because he's getting this offer to be an apprentice in Paris, as a chef. He sets his girlfriend down, makes her this cute dinner. They're drinking wine, talking about it. He's like, marry me, baby, move with me, do blah, 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 blah. Well, the pseudo boss guy, he shows up. He's talking about how he was going to kill this homeless guy or somebody else. He talks about how there was this woman that was standing in front of a bus. He could have pushed her, but he didn't do it. They're thinking the whole time that he killed someone. Turns out he's going to kill Sam's girlfriend, pissed off that she's not involved with this death and the premonitions. So he's jealous, and he's like, it's not fair that you get to live, and my little intern girl who totally wasn't going to break up with me when she realized how despicable I am. Very dull action scene later. Mr. Mosby shows up. He kills Mr. Mosby. So you're like, okay, he's going to survive. He's happy. He just killed a cop, though, so really, what cost? Is death worth escaping if the other option is like federal prison and hell? Eternal damnation, if you believe in it. Who knows? The stupid street we're on for this part quickly takes an exit to Flabbergasted Avenue when he decides killing the detective wasn't enough. No, he needs to kill Sam and his girlfriend so there are no witnesses. As if he wouldn't be like third or fourth in line of suspects. And with them dead, he'd be the number one fucking suspect, since he's related to the bridge incident. But a gun that the detective had is left on the stove, heats up, and shoots a bullet out. I don't know if that's possible. Kills him. Now Sam and his girlfriend are A-OK. Boom, dead, they're safe. But guess what, guys? They're going to Paris. And they get on a plane to go to Paris. Does that sound like anything that's happened in the past movies? They're on Flight 180, linking this couple to the first movie. I don't remember this movie feeling like it was old either, or maybe I just look at 2011 as if it was a long time ago, even though I was in high school then. I don't remember them using like flip phones and shit that would make it feel really old. But that was like right when like smartphones were really becoming big. I mean, like the iPhone came out in 2009. But as a kid, you didn't see a lot of kids in school having iPhones and shit until like 2010-ish. So like having old phones, people still had old phones like flip phones or like Blackberries. That's where this mess all like spirals out from. And this is where we see the characters from the first movie get kicked off the plane, which doesn't look bad. The switch over to old footage to new, the old video of them getting kicked off the plane to new. It kind of made me realize how good everything started out with that first movie to where it is now, which is sad. Not saying that this movie's bad. Sam and his girlfriend die on Flight 180, and we flash back over to the black guy who murdered that guy at the warehouse. At the bar, they have a remembrance thing for him, and he's told by the fella that the guy that he killed actually had like a blood clot in his brain or something and wasn't going to live very long. He only had like a few weeks left to live. And then boom, a piece of the plane from way across the city flies and kills him inside. End of movie. And should have been end of series. Tying this movie as a prequel to Final Destination 1 was a really cool twist ending. It was good for Final Destination's sake. I liked it. It was a nice ending. I liked the twist. It was fun. Normally I find twists like this to be shitty, but this wasn't that bad. Sadly, it's not the end of the series. Let's hope to God that the next movie isn't terrible. Because it isn't the end of the series, which I would have gave it a higher rating if it was, I'm gonna rate it a little bit lower. I think this is like a 5. It's worse than the second movie. I think that I was more worn out by the movies by the time this one came around, so I don't like it as much as the second. It could be better than the second movie, depending on how you look at it. I don't know. I can't look at it that way, because I'm just so sick of Final Destination. The twist ending was really cool, though, so my final verdict, oh man, I think I'm gonna give it like a 5.5. I'm gonna rate it a little high. I don't remember what I rated the second one. Who cares? For the orders of the Final Destination movies, so how I would order them from worst to best, probably pretty evident. Final Destination, or from best to worst. Final Destination 1 is the best movie in the series. It's the first. It just doesn't feel stagnant stale. It doesn't feel overdone. It has a nice bit of drama between the characters. There's this nice thrilling feel to it. Even if you know about the movies and know they're all going to die, this one felt nice. I like it. It felt comfortable. Final Destination 2 comes in at the second slot. It's more campy, more cheesy, more silly than the first movie. But a lot of the characters weren't bad. I liked them. The crackhead guy, the black guy in the movie, Clear coming back, Kimberly and the cop weren't bad. I liked them. Then I'd put Final Destination 5, the last one. It's third best. Decent movie. The twist ending's cool. The deaths aren't as drug out as they are in other movies. Or there's like things put in the middle to like cover up how long they are. Like during the intern gymnast girl dying, there's this like nail that falls onto the whatever the fuck they balance on and jump around on, that you're like, oh, is she gonna stab herself? That doesn't happen. After that, I'd put Final Destination 3. This movie's a chore to watch. All the characters suck. Things kind of just happen in front of you. And that Seth Green looking guy, is it Seth Green? It might be. I can't stand him. He dies in a really lame way. The ending is like a twist ending that really sucks on the subway. Oh, wow, she got a premonition, but it's too late, man, it's too late. I didn't like that. Final Destination 4 comes in very last place. I don't even want to discuss why. Overall, the series is very mid when you think about it. I think those movies would probably average out to about like a 4 out of 10 or something. They're just kind of slop death movies, akin to how like the Saw films turned into torture movies. The Final Destination movies turned into how elaborate can we make someone die. Oh, the wind will blow in this specific way, creating a thunderstorm, which then in return creates this, the antenna of the car to break, which hits the road, causing a cyclist to flip over on it, and he cascades down the hill, and he knocks into a man holding a cup of coffee. The cup of coffee spills on the ground. Uh-oh, a person walks by, slips on the cup of coffee, and falls into the pond and dies. That's what it turned into. It's just dumb. I feel like the first, second, and fifth movie aren't bad. The series should have ended after the second movie. Absolutely should have ended after the second movie. Overall, my opinions on the Final Destination films is, I regret watching the series and making this video partially. I think that the video might do well. There's another movie coming out. The whole series is kind of trending. The trailer has crazy views, so obviously people like this series. And I'm not trying to put the series down with this video. I have fond memories of the Final Destination series, as I'm sure most people do that are watching this video. But yeah, these movies, I still think back at them fondly. I'll talk about how they were fun. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, and if you enjoyed my talking about the Final Destination movies, and you disagree with me or agree with me, leave me a comment down below. I'd like to know which ones you liked or how you'd rank them. Give me a thumbs up. And subscribe to the channel. We're getting close to 1,200 subscribers. I'd like to get to 2,000. That'd be a really cool number. But until then, I'll see you in the next video. No clue what it's going to be about. Peace.